in the heart of the vast Oyo Empire, where the drums of tradition beat through the air and the ancient gods watched over their people. There was once a powerful Oba. His name was Oba Adeyemi, a ruler beloved by his people, feared by his enemies, and respected by all. Under his reign, the kingdom flourished, the fields were fertile, and peace reigned for many years. But peace is a fragile thing, especially when those closest to you carry secrets in their hearts. And in this kingdom, betrayal had taken root, hidden deep within the walls of the palace. Oba Adeyemi had one son, Prince Adetokunbo, a young man full of promise, strength, and loyalty. He had been trained in the ways of warriors, learned the wisdom of the elders, and grew up knowing the weight of the crown that would one day sit upon his head. The people loved him, for they saw in him the future, a future of hope, prosperity, and tradition. But not everyone looked upon the prince with admiration. In the shadows of the palace, the Oba's younger brother, Aderoju, harbored dark thoughts. He was consumed with jealousy, for in his heart he believed that he should be the one to rule, not his nephew, and so he plotted. Aderoju, a man with a silver tongue and a heart full of greed, whispered lies into the ears of the Oba. He told stories of the prince's supposed betrayal, a secret alliance with enemies from across the borders, and of plans to overthrow his own father. At first, the Oba, a wise and seasoned ruler, refused to believe such slander about his own son, but over time, doubt began to creep into his heart. One fateful night, under the cover of darkness, Aderoju presented false evidence of the prince's treason. The Oba, torn between his duty as a ruler and his love as a father, was forced to act. And so, with a heavy heart, he made a decision that would change the course of the kingdom forever. Prince Adetokunbo was summoned to the palace. Unaware of the storm brewing within, he entered the great hall, his head held high, dressed in the regal garments of a prince, expecting to hear words of praise from his father. Instead, he was met with silence. The Oba stood tall, but his eyes were filled with pain. "My son," the Oba said, his voice heavy with sorrow, "you have been accused of treason against your people. I have no choice but to banish you from this kingdom." The word struck the prince like a blow. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing. He tried to defend himself, to explain that he was innocent, but the Oba's decision was final. The prince, now stripped of all his title and his honor, was sent away, banished from the only home he had ever known. With nothing but clothes on his back, Prince Adetokunbo wandered the vast land of the Oyo Empire, his heart weighed down by the burden of the betrayer. He walked through the forest where the trees whispered of the past, across rivers that glistened like silver under the sun, and through villages where the people spoke of him in hushed tones. He was a prince no more, just a man lost in a world that had forgotten him. One night, while resting under a baobab tree, he meets an old woman. Her face is wrinkled, her eyes sharp. She offers him water and cryptic advice. "Beware the man who smiles in the dark. Not all betrayals come from the shadows," she said. Back in the kingdom, Aderoju wasted no time. With the prince gone, he positioned himself as the rightful heir to the throne. The Oba, old and weary, grew weaker by the day, his health failing him under the weight of guilt and sorrow. And so the kingdom was left vulnerable. It didn't take long before Aderoju struck. He raised an army, calling upon warriors loyal to him, promising them power and wealth. The once peaceful streets of the Oyo kingdom echoed with the sounds of marching soldiers, the beating of war drums, and the cries of frightened children. The Oba, too weak to fight, could only watch as his brother's ambition consumed the kingdom. The people were divided, the throne was at risk, and war loomed on the horizon. Far away in a distant village, Prince Adetokunbo had built a new life. Though his heart still longed for his home, it was there, among humble villagers, that he learned of the rebellion and his uncle's schemings. News traveled fast. The kingdom was on the brink of war, and his uncle was seizing power. The prince knew then what he had to do. Though he had lost his title, he had not lost his honor. His jaw clenched as he remembers the old woman's words. Determined to reclaim his honor, he begins gathering loyal allies, hunters, traders, and outcasts who believe in his cause. The prince set out on a journey back to the kingdom. His steps were heavy with the weight of duty, but his spirit burned with fire that could not be extinguished. For he was no longer a lost prince. He was now a warrior, and he was coming home to fight for his king and to fight for his people. As dawn broke, the prince's army stormed the gates. The battle was fierce. On one hand, Aderoju's army of rebels, their weapons sharp and their hearts full of greed. On the other side, Prince Adetokunbo and his loyal followers, outnumbered but filled with righteous determination. The clash of swords and the beating of drums echoed across the land as the fate of the kingdom hung in the balance. As the sun set, casting a blood-red glow over the battlefield, Prince Adetokunbo faced his uncle. The two stood amidst the chaos, their eyes locked in a silent battle of will. It was then, in the heat of battle, that the Oba himself, frail but determined, stepped between them. The Oba, his voice weak but unwavering, revealed a truth that shook the very foundation of the kingdom. It was not his brother who had betrayed him. It was the prince's own mother. She had conspired with Aderoju, fearing that her son's rule would lead to her losing influence in the palace. She had orchestrated the prince's downfall from the very beginning. In that moment, Prince Adetokunbo's world shattered. His own mother, the one who had nurtured him, had been the architect of his pain. Rage boiled in his veins, but as he looked into his father's eyes, he saw not vengeance, but sorrow. The prince lowered his sword. "No more blood will be spilled today," he said, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "Our kingdom has suffered enough. Let there be an end to this, and let the battle end here." And so, instead of vengeance, the prince chose forgiveness, for he had forgiven his mother and also his uncle. With the truth now revealed and peace restored, the kingdom began to heal. Prince Adetokunbo was crowned the new Oba, not through conquest or force, but through the power of mercy. Under his reign, the kingdom thrived once more, and the people celebrated the return of their true leader. The prince had been tested by betrayal, but in the end, it was his heart that guided him to victory. For true strength is not found in battle, but in the courage of forgiveness. And so, the fate of the Oba was written, not in blood, but in forgiveness. In a world full of greed and ambition, it is easy to lose ourselves to anger and vengeance, but the true test of character is in how we respond to the trials we face. For Prince Adetokunbo, his greatest victory was not reclaiming the throne, it was reclaiming his heart. Now let us remember that even in the darkest of times, there is always a path to redemption. And in the end, the choices we make define the legacies we leave behind. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.